They say small towns are peaceful. I used to believe that, right up until my neighbor called the cops because I painted my own fence. Yeah, my fence. Name's Jack Rains, 54, retired firefighter turned woodworker. I bought 10 acres outside Pine Hollow, Oregon to get away from city nonsense. No sirens, no politics, no HOA breathing down my neck. Just mountains, pine trees, and peace. That lasted, maybe 2 months. Because across the dirt road lives Victoria Hale, president of the Whisper Ridge Homeowners Association. A woman who believes perfection is a civic duty. Always in tennis whites. Always holding a clipboard like it's a badge. The first time she showed up, I was staining my fence, old country brown color. She leaned over the rail, sniffed, and said, "You know, HOA standards require neutral tones only. Sand, beige, dove gray." I looked up, smiled. "Ma'am, I'm not in your HOA." She blinked. "Everyone on this road is." "Not me," I said, and went back to work. She stood there a moment, then snapped a picture on her phone. "We'll see about that." That should have been the end. But if you've ever met someone who needs control, you know it never stops there. 2 weeks later, I came home to find a letter taped to my gate. Notice of violation. Unapproved fence color. Fine, $200. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my toolbox. I crumpled it, tossed it, thought that was that. But next morning, I had company. A sheriff's deputy. He steps out, hand on his belt, says, "Morning, Mr. Rains. Got a complaint about an aggressive homeowner threatening HOA staff." I stared at him. "You mean Victoria?" He sighed. "That's the one." She was standing 10 feet behind him, recording on her phone, whispering, "This man's unstable." Now I've dragged people out of burning houses. I've held mothers who just lost everything. But I swear, nothing boils your blood like being treated like a criminal for owning a paintbrush. Deputy took one look at my property deed, shook his head, and told her flat out, "Ma'am, he's outside your jurisdiction." She muttered something about community image, stormed off in her spotless SUV, tires throwing dust all over her white sneakers. I almost smiled, but that day lit a fuse I didn't know was burning. Over the next month, things got weird. Anonymous complaints to the county about unauthorized structures. Someone trimming my hedges without asking. A landscaping bill for work I never ordered. And then came the email, sent to half the neighborhood. Subject, concerning behavior by resident Jack Rains. Attached were photos of me on my tractor, looking like a mugshot. Caption said, possible illegal dumping. Dumping? Lady, that's mulch. I was angry, but anger's just fuel if you burn it right. So instead of shouting, I started documenting. Dates, emails, photos. My daughter, Ellie, helped me set up a security camera facing the road. She joked, "Dad, you're about to become the HOA's worst nightmare." She was right. A week later, that camera caught something wild. Victoria, 6 a.m., sneaking along my fence line with a ruler. Measuring every single board. I sent the clip to the deputy, same one from before. He called me laughing so hard he could barely talk. "Jack, she filed 10 complaints last month." 10. The county finally flagged her as habitual reporter. I thought it would die there. But control freaks don't back down, they double down. Next morning I wake to chainsaws. 3 guys cutting my front trees. I run out yelling, "What the hell are you doing?" One says, "HOA order." Mrs. Hale said they blocked the neighborhood view. "Buddy, this isn't HOA land." He shrugs. "Talk to her." So I did. Stormed across the road, still in my boots and flannel. She's watering her perfect hydrangeas like she doesn't hear me. "You hired people to trespass?" I shout. She sets the hose down, calm as ice. "I'm protecting property values. Those trees are unsightly. They've been there 50 years. She tilts her head. So has mold. That one almost got me arrested. But I just took a deep breath, pulled my phone, hit record, and said, "Thanks for confirming on camera." Her eyes flicked to the phone, and for the first time, I saw something crack behind that perfect smile. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the porch, dogs at my feet, thinking how bullies always look small until you see the damage they cause. I wasn't the only one. Neighbors whispered about random fines, threats over flower colors, late fees that didn't exist. They were scared to speak up. I used to fight fires. Now I was about to fight bureaucracy. Different uniform, same smoke. I drove into town next morning, straight to the county records office. Asked for Whisper Ridge HOAs and corporation files, public record. The clerk looked surprised, handed me a dusty binder. Inside, I found something that made my coffee go cold. The treasurer listed on every financial report, Eleanor Pierce, had passed away 3 years ago. Yet her signature kept showing up on new expense approvals, including massive payments to Hale Property Maintenance, LLC. Guess who owned that company? Victoria. My hands actually trembled. I took photos of every page, date-stamped them, and called a friend from my firefighting days, Derek, now a county investigator. He whistled low when he saw the screenshots. Buddy, that's fraud if I've ever seen it. Can I prove it? Oh yeah, he said. But let's make sure she proves it for you. So we waited. Saturday morning, 9 a.m., the HOA called an emergency meeting at the community hall. Word spread fast. 50 people showed up. Victoria at the podium, hair perfect, PowerPoint ready. She clicked the first slide, a photo of my fence. This, she said, is the kind of negligence that lowers everyone's property values. Someone actually gasped. I just sat in the back, sipping coffee. Then she started reading proposed amendments to extend HOA authority to adjacent rural properties that affect community aesthetics. Translation me. When she paused for breath, I stood up. Quick question, I said. Before we vote, could you tell us who approved last year's payments to Hale Property Maintenance? She froze for half a heartbeat, then smiled. All expenditures were board approved. By Eleanor Pierce. That's correct. I held up a printout of Eleanor's obituary. Because according to the county, she's been dead since 2019. The room went dead quiet. Someone in the back muttered, "Holy hell." I laid the photos on the front table. You've been signing for a ghost, Victoria. Using HOA funds to pay your own company. And you tried to cover it by bullying anyone who questioned you. Her face drained of color, then flushed red. You can't prove anything. Derek chose that moment to step forward, badge out. Actually, ma'am, we can. Every phone in the room came up recording. Victoria's voice rose an octave. This is harassment. You people don't appreciate what I've done for this community. A neighbor, old Mrs. Carter, stood and said quietly, "You fined me because my mailbox was blue." Another man added, "You threatened to tow my truck." Voices piled on until the hall was a storm. Victoria tried to shout them down, grabbed her binder, and bolted for the door, straight into 2 sheriff's deputies waiting outside. When the cuffs clicked, nobody cheered. We just sat there stunned, like waking from a bad dream. A week later, I testified. Turned out she'd been embezzling for years, using fake signatures, double billing homeowners, even reporting maintenance emergencies that were just remodels on her own house. The county seized her assets, the HOA dissolved, and neighbors finally started waving again instead of whispering. But victory doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it's just quiet, the kind that finally lets you breathe. That spring, I rebuilt the section of fence they'd cut down. Same brown color, maybe a shade darker. Ellie came by with her kids and laughed. "You gonna charge yourself a fine this time?" I smiled. "Maybe I'll send myself a thank you note instead." We sat on the porch, sun dropping behind the ridge, and for the first time in months the air felt light. But as peace settled in, I kept thinking about something Victoria yelled while they led her away. "You think you're better than everyone. People like you always win because you have friends in high places." I didn't then, and I still don't. All I had was patience, proof, and the will to stand up when everyone else looked down. Funny thing, next week I got a letter from the State Ethics Board, asking if I'd help design new guidelines for HOA accountability. Me, a guy who just wanted to build furniture and mind his land. Life's strange that way. Now, sometimes I'll see cars slow down to take photos of my fence, the infamous, unsightly eyesore that started it all. I wave. Some wave back, some don't. That's fine. Because peace doesn't mean everyone likes you. It just means you can finally stop caring who doesn't. Last week, though, something odd happened. A small white envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a photo, me, standing by the fence, with a note. "Still watching. Standards matter." No signature. Maybe it was some leftover supporter of Victoria's, maybe just a prank. But I tacked it to my workshop wall right next to a sign that says, "Let it burn," firefighter's motto. Because sometimes, the only way to stop a fire is to let the right things burn. So tell me, what would you have done? Should I have ignored her, kept my head down, repainted the fence beige just to keep the peace? Or was standing up worth all the trouble? Drop your thoughts below, because every small town's got a Victoria somewhere, and every quiet man's got a breaking point.